What started as one human's response to one act of integrity became a movement. Lyra watched it all in amazement. She had returned a wall. The transformation of the old facility on level 30 happened faster than anyone expected. Lyra watched teams of workers install beds, set up food dispensers, and create private sleeping areas. What had been an abandoned storage complex became a place of hope. Minho, the businessman who donated the initial funding, supervised much of the construction. He was energetic and passionate about the project. He brought Lyra with him on inspection tours, asking her opinion on layouts and amenities. "You lived in the lower levels," he said. "You know what people need. What would have helped you?" Lyra thought carefully. "Privacy. Even a small space that is yours. And access to showers. Being dirty makes you feel less human, less worthy. Then we will make sure every resident has their own space and unlimited access to bathing facilities," Minho decided. The facility included more than just shelter. There was a medical clinic run by Dr. Minje and his staff. There was a job training center where residents could learn skills. There was a documentation office where beings could get help sorting through bureaucratic problems. And there was a common area where residents could gather, talk, and remember they were not alone. 2 weeks after the announcement, the Lyra Initiative opened its doors. The response was immediate. On the first day, 30 beings showed up seeking help. By the end of the week, over 100 had registered. Lyra worked alongside Yuna, helping new arrivals get settled. She spoke multiple languages from her travels with her family, which made her valuable as a translator. But more than that, she understood what they were feeling. The fear, the shame, the desperate hope that maybe finally someone would help. One of the first residents was a young Hrovian male named Kix. He had been injured in an accident and could no longer work. His family had abandoned him. He had been living in maintenance tunnels for 3 months. "I do not deserve help," Kix said, his insect eyes downcast. "I am a burden." "No one is a burden," Lyra told him firmly. "Everyone deserves safety and dignity. That is what this place is about." She helped him get medical treatment for his injury. Dr. Minje discovered it could be fixed with surgery. Within a month, Kix was walking normally again. He started training in mechanical repair and eventually got a job at one of the station's maintenance companies. There was a Granic woman named Tal who had fled domestic violence. Her own species' embassy would not help her because she was technically still married. The Lyra Initiative did not care about technicalities. They gave her shelter, legal support, and protection. There was a Relian family who had been stranded when their transport ship went bankrupt. They had 3 small children and no way to get home. The initiative found them housing, arranged for the children to attend school, and helped the parents find work. Story after story. Life after life. The initiative was making real differences, but not everyone was happy about it. Some species saw it as interference. Some saw it as humans trying to look superior. Some argued that every species should take care of their own. Ambassador Doyen brought these concerns to a meeting with Taman and the initiative's leadership. Lyra attended because Taman insisted she should understand the political aspects. "The Zenith Collective is formally protesting the Lyra Initiative," Doyen said, looking at a datapad. "They claim we are undermining their sovereignty by helping their citizens." "Their citizens that they abandoned?" Taman said sharply. "We have 12 Zenith refugees in our facility. Beings their own government would not help." "They are demanding we stop operations," Doyen continued. "And what did you tell them?" "I told them to file their complaint with the Galactic Council and see how much sympathy they get when the media is documenting their failure to care for their own people." Taman smiled. "Good. But the complaints did create problems. Some species began pressuring their citizens not to seek help from the initiative. They saw accepting human aid as shameful. As weakness, Lyra saw the effect firsthand. A young Zenith girl came to the facility but left after only a few hours. She had received threatening messages from her own embassy. They said if she accepted human charity, she would be labeled a traitor. It made Lyra angry. She had felt helpless before, but this was different. This was people trying to prevent help from reaching those who needed it. That was cruel in a way she could barely understand. "Why do they care?" she asked Ambassador Taman. "Why does it matter who helps?" "Pride," Taman said sadly. "Many species see asking for help, especially from other species, as shameful. They would rather their own people suffer than admit they need assistance. That is stupid." "Yes." Taman agreed. But it is reality. We have to work within it. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Journalist Soman had been documenting the initiative's progress. Her report showed the real impact. Beings who were starving now had food. Beings who were sick now had medicine. Families who were separated were being reunited. One report focused on Kix, the Hrovian male who had recovered from his injury. Soman interviewed him about his experience. "I thought my life was over," Kix said to the camera. "I thought I had no value because I could not work. But the humans taught me something. They taught me that every being has worth regardless of what they can do or produce. They gave me my life back." The interview went viral, not just on human networks but across the entire galactic communication system. Billions of beings saw it, and something shifted. 3 days after the interview aired, the Hrovian government announced they were creating their own refugee assistance program, modeled after the Lyra initiative. They committed significant resources and publicly thanked Earth for showing them a better way. Other species followed. Within a month, 7 different governments had announced similar programs. The Velkari initiative was the most comprehensive, with Ambassador Ruval personally overseeing its implementation. "This is what we hoped for," Taman told Lyra during one of their regular meetings. "Not just helping people directly, but inspiring others to help too. That is how real change happens." The initiative on New Terra Station continued to grow. By the 3rd month, they had helped over 300 beings. Success stories were common. Residents found jobs, got medical treatment, reconnected with families, or simply found the stability they needed to rebuild their lives. Lyra threw herself into the work. She woke early and worked late. She helped with everything from intake interviews to translation services to simple things like showing new residents where the showers were. Yuna noticed how hard Lyra was working. One evening, she pulled her aside. "You need to rest too," Yuna said gently. "You are still young. You need time to just be a child." "I cannot rest when there is so much to do," Lyra protested. "Lyra, you have already done more than anyone could ask. You do not have to save everyone." "But I can help," Lyra said. "And if I can help, I should. Is that not what Ambassador Taman says?" Yuna smiled sadly. "He does. But he also takes time off. He spends time with his family, he rests. You should too." Lyra knew Yuna was right. But it was hard to step away when she saw so much need. When she knew what it felt like to be desperate and alone. The initiative's 6-month milestone brought a celebration. Minho organized a gathering in the common area. There was food from dozens of worlds. Music that blended multiple species styles. Beings who had been helped by the initiative shared their stories. Ambassador Taman gave a speech. His family was there too. Lyra finally met his wife Hana and their children Jiho and Minji. The children were shy at first, but Jiho eventually asked Lyra if she wanted to play a game. It was nice. Normal. Like being part of a family again. 6 months ago, one young girl made a choice, Taman said to the assembled crowd. She chose integrity over survival. She chose doing right over doing what was easy. That choice created ripples. Those ripples became waves, and those waves changed lives. Over 400 beings on this station alone. Thousands more across the galaxy as other species adopted similar programs. All because Lyra remembered what her father taught her about honor. He gestured for Lyra to join him at the front. She walked up reluctantly, uncomfortable with the attention. Lyra is not just the namesake of this initiative, Taman continued. She is its heart. She works here every day. She helps new residents adjust. She translates. She counsels. She cares. She shows everyone what this initiative is really about. Not charity. Not politics. Just beings helping other beings because it is right. The crowd applauded. Lyra felt her face flush. She was not used to praise. She was not sure she deserved it. After the celebration, as people were leaving, Ambassador Ruval approached Lyra. They had not spoken directly since his apology months ago. Lyra, he said formally, I have news from Velkar Prime. We located some of your father's relatives. They want to meet you. They want you to come home. Lyra felt a rush of emotions. Home, family, the things she thought she had lost forever. They live in the southern continent, Ruval continued. Your father's sister and her family. They remembered your parents. They want to welcome you. That is wonderful, Yuna said, who was standing nearby. But Lyra felt conflicted. Going home meant leaving the initiative, leaving the work, leaving the beings who needed help. You do not have to decide now, Ruvel said, reading her hesitation. The room was small but perfect. Lyra stood in the doorway, afraid to enter, afraid that if she stepped inside it would all disappear like a dream. Go on, Una encouraged gently. It is yours. For as long as you need it. Lyra took a careful step inside. The floor was clean. The walls were painted a soft blue color. There was a bed with real sheets and a pillow. A bathroom door stood open, showing a shower and sink. In the corner was a food dispenser, the kind that made basic meals. I will show you how everything works, Una said. She demonstrated the food dispenser, the shower controls, the door lock. You are on level 40 in the human residential sector. This area is safe. Security patrols regularly. No one will bother you here. Lyra nodded, taking it all in. It was too much. Too good. I will let you rest, Una said. But first let me give you this. She handed Lyra a communication device. My contact information is already programmed in. If you need anything at all, you call me. Understand? Yes, thank you. Una smiled. Get some sleep, Lyra. You are safe now. After Una left, Lyra stood in the middle of the room for a long time. She was afraid to touch anything. Afraid to make it dirty. Afraid to break this perfect moment. Finally, exhaustion won. She lay down on the bed without even removing her dirty clothes. The mattress was soft. The pillow was clean. Within seconds, she was asleep. She slept for 14 hours straight. When she woke, it was early morning by the station's clock. Lyra felt different, rested. The ache in her arm was gone. The constant hunger was reduced to a manageable level. She took a shower. The hot water was amazing. She had not had hot water in months. She stood under the spray until the water ran cold, washing away layers of dirt and fear. The food dispenser produced a basic breakfast. It was simple food, but it was hot and filling. Lyra ate slowly, savoring every bite. There was a knock on her door. She opened it carefully. It was Una holding a bag. Good morning, Una said cheerfully. I brought you some clothes. They might be a bit big, but they are clean. How are you feeling? Better, Lyra admitted. Much better. Good, because Ambassador Taman wants to see you again. If you feel up to it. Lyra changed into the new clothes. They were too large, but they were soft and clean. She followed Una back to the embassy. The embassy was busier today. Many humans moved through the corridors with purpose. There was energy in the air. Something was happening. In the ambassador's office, Taman was meeting with several other humans. He looked tired, like he had not slept much, but his eyes were bright with determination. Lyra, he said when she entered. Come in, I want you to meet some people. He introduced her to 3 other humans. Ambassador Doyen, a stern-looking man who watched her with sharp eyes. Minho, a wealthy man who owned businesses on the station, and Dr. Minje, who she already knew. We have been talking all night, Taman explained. About you. About your situation. About what it represents. I do not understand, Lyra said. Taman gestured for her to sit. Lyra, you are not the only refugee on this station living in terrible conditions. After speaking with you yesterday, I did some research. There are at least 200 documented cases of displaced individuals with nowhere to go. And probably hundreds more who are not documented. Beings who fell through the cracks, who were failed by their own species' bureaucracy. Ambassador Doyen leaned forward. The question is, what do we do about it? Earth already provides significant aid to many causes. Our resources are not unlimited. But our compassion should be, Taman countered. We cannot help everyone in the galaxy. But we can help people here on this station right now. It will be expensive, Doyen warned. Shelter, food, medical care, documentation services. It will cost millions. I can provide initial funding, Minho said. He smiled at Lyra. I made my fortune through trade on this station. It is time to give something back. I will commit 5 million credits to start. Dr. Minje nodded. The medical center will provide services at reduced cost. We can set up a clinic specifically for refugees. Taman turned to Lyra. I want to call it the Lyra Initiative, a program to help displaced beings find their way again. Is that acceptable to you? Lyra felt overwhelmed. You want to name it after me? You inspired it, Taman said simply. Your integrity, your choice to do right even when you were desperate, that is what started this. You deserve recognition. I just returned a wallet, Lyra protested weakly. No, Ambassador Doyen said. His stern face softened slightly. You did more than that. You reminded us what matters. When Ambassador Taman told me your story, I was moved. I admit I was skeptical about this initiative. I thought it was too ambitious, too expensive. But then I thought about what you did. A child, homeless and hungry, returning thousands of credits because it was the right thing to do. If you can have that kind of integrity in your situation, how can we have any less? The next few days passed in a blur. Lyra stayed in her room mostly, still adjusting to safety and regular meals. But Yuna kept her updated on what was happening. Ambassador Taman was working constantly. He met with other diplomats. He spoke with the station administrator. He contacted human organizations back on Earth for support. The story of the returned wallet had spread. Journalist Samin had published her report, and it went viral across the galactic network. Everyone was talking about the young Velkari girl who returned a fortune to a human diplomat. The responses were mixed. Some species praised her integrity, others were confused, unable to understand why she would not keep the money. A few criticized her as foolish, but many humans responded with action. Donations started coming in from Earth and human colonies. Volunteers signed up to help. Companies offered resources and services. On the 5th day, Yuna brought Lyra to a press conference. The embassy had prepared a formal announcement. Ambassador Taman stood at a podium in front of many cameras and journalists from various species. Lyra stood behind him with Yuna, feeling small and exposed. "Thank you all for coming," Taman began. "5 days ago, a young Velkari refugee named Lyra found my wallet in the market district. Inside were thousands of credits, important documents, and irreplaceable family photos. She could have kept it. She had every reason to. She was homeless, hungry, and desperate. But instead, she traveled across dozens of levels to return it to me. Everything intact." He paused, letting that sink in. That single act of integrity inspired me to take action. Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Lyra Initiative, a comprehensive program to help displaced refugees on New Terra Station. The program will provide emergency shelter, medical care, job training, and documentation assistance to any being in need, regardless of species. Cameras flashed. Journalists called out questions. "We have already secured 15 million credits in initial funding, thanks to private donors and Earth government support," Taman continued. "We have identified a facility on level 30 that will be converted into a refugee center. We expect to begin operations within 2 weeks." More questions. More cameras. Lyra tried to make herself smaller. "I know what some of you are thinking," Taman said. "Why should Earth care about refugees from other species? Why should we spend our resources on beings who are not human?" He paused. "Because that is who we are. Humans have a saying, 'Be the change you wish to see.'" Lyra showed me incredible integrity. She showed me that even in desperate circumstances, honor matters. How can I do any less? How can we do any less? A journalist from a reptilian species called out, "Ambassador, some are saying this is a political move, a way to gain influence in the Galactic Council." Taman smiled. "Let them say what they want. I am not doing this for politics. I am doing it because a 14-year-old child reminded me what matters. Helping people is not a political strategy. It is simply the right thing to do." After the press conference, something unexpected happened. Ambassador Ruval from the Velkari embassy requested a meeting with Ambassador Taman. Lyra was asked to attend. The meeting was tense. Ruval looked uncomfortable, his bioluminescent markings flickering with emotion. "Ambassador Taman," Ruval began, "I owe you and young Lyra an apology. After our last conversation, I investigated our embassy's handling of refugee cases. What I found was disturbing. We have been turning away beings in need because of bureaucratic obstacles. We prioritize paperwork over people. That was wrong." He turned to Lyra. "Lyra, I am sorry. You came to us for help and we failed you. That failure is unacceptable. On behalf of the Velkari government, I apologize." Lyra did not know what to say. She had dreamed of this moment during those long nights in the storage bay, but now that it was happening, she felt numb. "Apologies are nice," Taman said coldly, "but what are you going to do about it?" "The Velkari government has authorized me to commit 5 million credits to the Lyra Initiative," Ruval said. "We want to be part of the solution." Taman raised his eyebrows. "That is unexpected." "Your initiative shamed us," Ruval admitted. "You, a human, are helping our people when we failed to. That shame is deserved, but we can do better. We will do better." Over the next week, something remarkable happened. Other species embassies began pledging support to the Lyra initiative. The Granites committed resources. The Hrovians pledged medical supplies. Even the Granics, usually strict and unbending, offered documentation services. Ambassador Taman did not move for a long moment. He stayed kneeling in front of Lyra, studying her face. His expression was complicated, sad, angry, but not angry at her. Angry at something else. At the situation, maybe. How old are you? He asked softly. 14 cycles, Lyra answered. In Velkari years. I'm not sure what that means in human years. About the same, Taman said. You are just a child. He stood up and turned to Yuna. Get medical staff here. She needs to be checked. I am fine, Lyra said quickly. She did not want to be a problem. When was the last time you ate a proper meal? Taman asked. Lyra did not answer. She could not remember. The ambassador nodded as if her silence told him everything he needed to know. He turned to the journalist who had been recording everything. Her name badge said Soman Choi. Soman, I need you to step outside for a moment, Taman said. The journalist looked disappointed but nodded. I understand, Ambassador. But I hope you will let me tell this story. People need to hear about what this girl did. We will talk, Taman promised. But right now Lyra needs privacy and care, not cameras. Soman left the office. Taman pressed a button on his desk. Hyun, I need you to contact Dr. Min-jae at the medical center. Tell him we have a patient who needs immediate attention, and contact social services. We have a displaced minor in need of emergency shelter. Hyun's voice came back through the speaker. Right away, Ambassador. Taman looked at Lyra again. You must have questions. About the reward. About what happens next. The reward, Lyra said. She had almost forgotten. You were offering one? Yes. 2,000 credits for the return of my wallet. He pulled out one of the credit chips from the wallet and held it out to her. This is yours. You earned it. Lyra looked at the chip. 2,000 credits. That was more money than she had ever held. But somehow it felt wrong now, like she was being paid for doing the right thing. I did not return it for money, she said quietly. Taman smiled. It was a sad smile, I know. That is why you deserve it even more. He took her hand gently and placed the chip in her palm. Please, take it. Use it for food, for clothes, for whatever you need. Lyra closed her fingers around the chip. It was warm from his hand. Thank you, she whispered. No, Taman said. Thank you. You could have kept everything. You had every reason to. You are hungry, homeless, and alone, but you chose integrity instead. That is rare. That is precious. There was a knock on the door. A human man in medical clothing entered. He was young and had a friendly face. I am Dr. Min-jae, he said to Lyra in Galactic Standard. I am here to make sure you are healthy.
Is that okay?
Lyra nodded. She was too tired to be scared anymore. The doctor ran several scans with handheld devices. He asked her questions about when she last ate, when she last slept properly, if she had any pain anywhere. Lyra answered honestly. There was no point in lying now. Malnutrition, Dr. Min-jae said to the ambassador. Not severe yet, but getting there. She has an infection in her left arm, probably from a cut that did not heal properly. She needs medication, good food, and rest. She will have all of that, Taman said firmly. The doctor gave Lyra an injection. For the infection, he explained. It might make you sleepy. That is normal. Lyra felt the medicine working almost immediately. The constant ache in her arm began to fade. The exhaustion that she had been fighting for months seemed to rush over her all at once. Yuna brought her a chair. Lyra sat down gratefully. While the doctor finished his examination, Ambassador Taman made more calls. Lyra listened in a haze. He was talking to many people, using words like emergency documentation and refugee status and temporary guardianship. The Velkari embassy, Lyra said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. I tried to get help there. They said I needed identification. Taman's expression hardened. The Velkari embassy is on this station. They knew you were here? Yes, I went there many times. They would not see me without proper papers. That is going to change, Taman said. His voice was cold in a way that made Lyra think he could be very scary when he wanted to be. Yuna, get me Ambassador Ruval from the Velkari embassy on the line. Now. Yuna worked quickly on a communication device. Within minutes, a Velkari face appeared on the screen. He was old with faded bioluminescent markings and tired eyes. Ambassador Taman, the Velkari said. What can I do for Earth today? You can explain why a Velkari child has been living homeless on this station for 6 months, while your embassy did nothing to help her, Taman said. His voice was calm but sharp. Ambassador Ruval blinked in surprise. I am not aware of any such situation. Her name is Lyra. Her family died in a pirate attack. She came to your embassy for help. Multiple times. She was turned away because she lacked identification. If she had no identification, then there was nothing we could do, Ruval said defensively. We have protocols. She is a child of your species, Taman said. His calm was cracking. Anger was showing through. She is 14 cycles old. She has been surviving in the lower levels, sleeping in storage bays, scavenging for food. And your protocols said to do nothing? Ruval looked uncomfortable. The paperwork required for refugee cases is complex. Without proper documentation, she is a child, Taman repeated. Each word was like a hammer. Not paperwork. Not a case number. A child who needed help. There was a long silence. Ruval seemed to shrink on the screen. I will look into this matter, he finally said. You do that, Taman said. And while you are looking into it, know that Earth is providing Lyra with emergency documentation, medical care, shelter, and food. We are doing what your embassy should have done months ago. Taman ended the call without waiting for a response. Lyra stared at the ambassador. No one had ever defended her like that. No one had ever been angry on her behalf. It made something tight in her chest begin to loosen. I'm sorry, Taman said, turning to her. That was harsh. But it was necessary. You deserved help. You should have received it. Thank you, Lyra said. The words felt too small for what she was feeling. Another person arrived. A human woman who introduced herself as Yunha from Social Services. She had kind eyes and spoke gently. Lyra, I have arranged a temporary room for you in the human residential sector, Yuna said. It is small but clean. It has a bed, a bathroom, and a food dispenser. You can stay there while we work on more permanent arrangements. A room. A real room. With a bed. Lyra felt dizzy. Is this real? She asked. The medicine was making everything feel dreamlike. It is real, Ambassador Taman promised. You did something good today, Lyra. Let us do something good for you. Yuna helped Lyra stand. Her legs felt weak. The injection was making her very sleepy. Before you go, Taman said, I want you to know something. I am not going to stop with just helping you. What happened to you should not happen to anyone. There are probably other beings on this station in similar situations. Other children. Other refugees who fell through the cracks of bureaucracy. He walked to the window of his office. Outside, the vast station spread out in all directions. Millions of beings living, working, traveling through this space. I'm going to propose something to the other human diplomats here, he continued. A program to help displaced individuals. A shelter. Job training. Documentation assistance. Real help. Not just words and protocols. Lyra was surprised. Because of me? Because of what you reminded me, Taman said. On Earth, we have many problems. We are not perfect, but we try to solve problems when we see them. You saw my wallet on the ground and could have walked away, but you did not. I see suffering on this station every day. I cannot walk away from it either. One person cannot fix everything, Lyra said. Her father used to say that. When things seem too big, too impossible. No, Taman agreed. But one person can start. And maybe others will join. Yuna gently guided Lyra toward the door. Everything was happening so fast. A few hours ago, she was sleeping in a storage bay. Now she was being offered a room, medical care, and hope. At the door, Lyra stopped and looked back at the ambassador. He was watching her with that same complicated expression, sad and determined at the same time. Ambassador Taman, she said. Why do humans help people who are not human? He smiled, a real smile this time. Because we are all people, Lyra. The species does not matter. Suffering is suffering. And if we can help, we should. That is what it means to be human. Lyra nodded slowly. She thought her father would have liked this man. They thought in similar ways. Your father would be proud of you, Taman said, as if reading her thoughts. What you did today took courage. Never forget that. Lyra felt tears starting. She had not cried in months. She had been too tired, too focused on survival. But now in this safe place with these kind people, the tears came. Yuna put an arm around her shoulders. Come on, let's get you to your room. You need rest. As they left the embassy, Lyra looked back one more time. Through the office window, she saw Ambassador Taman on another communication call. He was gesturing emphatically, fighting for something, probably fighting for her, for others like her, and Lyra realized something. Returning the wallet had not just been about doing the right thing. It had set something in motion. Something bigger than her. Bigger than one lost wallet. She had no idea how much bigger it would become. Morning came slowly to the lower levels. There were no real windows this far down in the station. Just artificial lights that turned on and off to simulate day and night. Lyra had not slept well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the photos from the wallet. She sat up and pulled the wallet from her jacket. In the better light, she could see more details. The leather was real, not synthetic. Earth-made, probably. The credit chips were neatly organized. The identification cards were official, with holograms that marked them as genuine. There was also a small card with handwriting on it. Lyra could not read the human language, but she recognized the careful strokes of someone who wrote with love. A note from his wife, perhaps. Or his children. Her stomach growled. She still had one piece of fruit left from yesterday. She ate it slowly, thinking. The smart choice was clear. Keep the money, survive, no one would blame her. She was desperate. She was alone. She was just trying to live. But her father's voice kept echoing in her head. What kind of person do you want to be? By midday, Lyra had made her decision. She would return the wallet. She did not know how yet. But she would find a way. She climbed up to the main levels and started asking questions. It was risky. Speaking to strangers meant being noticed. But she needed information. An old granite merchant told her that Ambassador Taman worked at the human embassy. The embassy was on level 42 in the diplomatic sector. That was far from the lower levels. That was a place where people like Lyra did not belong. She also heard something else. The ambassador had reported his wallet missing. He was offering a reward for its return. A reward. That changed things, but not in the way most people would think. It meant she could return the wallet and get something in return. Something legal. Something that would not make her a thief. But getting to level 42 would not be easy. Lyra started her journey up through the station. She took service elevators when she could. She climbed maintenance shafts when she had to. At each checkpoint, she hid or waited until guards were distracted. On level 28, a security officer from the Rovian species stopped her. He looked at her with his multifaceted eyes and clicked his mandibles. "Where are you going, little Velkari?" he asked. His voice was not kind. "To visit someone," Lyra said quietly. "Who? You have no family here. I know your face. You are one of the street children. I have business in the upper levels." The officer laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Business? You are going to beg or steal. Go back down where you belong." Lyra wanted to show him the wallet, to prove she had a real reason to be here. But she was afraid. If she showed it, he might take it from her. He might claim the reward for himself, so she waited. When the officer got distracted by a loud argument between two merchants, she slipped past him and ran. She made it to level 35 before she was stopped again. This time it was a female Granic, a species known for following rules strictly. "Identification," the guard demanded. "I do not have any," Lyra admitted. "Then you cannot pass. The upper levels require proper documentation." "Please," Lyra said. "I need to get to the human embassy. I have something that belongs to one of their diplomats." The guard's stone-like face showed no emotion. "Many people claim to have business in the diplomatic sector. Most are lying. Go back down." Lyra felt frustration rising in her chest. She had walked so far. She had climbed so many levels. The wallet felt heavy in her jacket. She could turn back now, give up, keep the money, no. She had made her choice. "I found Ambassador Taman's wallet," she said clearly. "I am trying to return it." The guard stared at her for a long moment. Then she made a communication gesture with her hand. She was calling someone. "There is a young Velkari here claiming to have Ambassador Taman's lost wallet," the guard said into her communicator. A voice responded, but Lyra could not hear what it said. The guard looked at Lyra again. "They are sending someone to verify. If you are lying, you will be arrested." Lyra nodded. She waited. 10 minutes later, a human woman arrived. She was young, maybe in her 20s. She had kind eyes and moved quickly. She wore the same type of diplomatic insignia as the ambassador. "I'm Una Park," the woman said in perfect galactic standard. I work with Ambassador Taman. You say you found his wallet? Yes, Lyra said. He dropped it yesterday in the market district. I saw it fall. Una studied her carefully. May I see it? Lyra hesitated. Then she slowly pulled the wallet from her jacket and held it out. Una took it and opened it. Her eyes widened. This is it. This is definitely his wallet. Everything is still here. She looked at Lyra with surprise. You have been carrying this since yesterday? Yes. The credit chips alone are worth thousands. You could have used them. They are not mine, Lyra said simply. Una was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. Come with me. The ambassador will want to thank you personally. The guard let them pass. Una led Lyra through the upper levels. Everything here was cleaner, brighter. The air smelled better. The people walking by wore nice clothes and carried themselves with confidence. Lyra felt small and dirty in comparison. Her jacket was torn. Her clothes were stained. She probably smelled bad. She could not remember the last time she had a proper bath. The human embassy was impressive. The doors were made of real wood from Earth, or so the decorative plaque claimed. Inside, the floors were polished. Lights were warm and welcoming. A security officer at the entrance, another human, looked at Lyra with suspicion. He was older, with gray hair and a stern face. Una, what is this? He asked. Hyun, this young lady found the ambassador's wallet and brought it all the way here to return it. Una explained. The officer named Hyun raised his eyebrows. Is that so? Everything is still inside, Una said. Every credit chip. Every card. Even his family photos. Hyun looked at Lyra differently then, not with suspicion, but with something like respect. Well, that is unusual. Most beings would have kept it. She is not most beings, Una said softly. Come on, Lyra. The ambassador is in his office. They walked through corridors decorated with images of Earth. Lyra saw pictures of blue oceans and green forests. She saw cities with tall buildings. She saw people of different colors, all human, all living together. They reached a door. Una knocked. Come in, a voice called. Una opened the door. Inside was a large office, and sitting behind a desk, looking tired and worried, was Ambassador Taman. He was on a communication call with someone. Another woman was in the room too, holding a recording device. She wore a badge that said Press. The ambassador looked up and saw Lyra. His expression changed from annoyance to confusion. I will call you back, he said to the person on the communication screen. He ended the call and stood up. Una, what is going on? Una smiled. Ambassador, this is Lyra. She found something that belongs to you. The ambassador looked at Lyra. Really looked at her. She felt his eyes taking in her dirty clothes, her thin frame, her nervous posture. Lyra reached into her jacket one more time. She pulled out the wallet. She walked forward slowly and placed it on his desk. You dropped this, she said quietly, in the market. Yesterday. Ambassador Taman stared at the wallet. Then he picked it up and opened it. His hands moved through the contents. The credit chips. The cards. The photos. His fingers stopped on the picture of his family. He looked up at Lyra. His eyes were wide with shock. Everything is here, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. Everything? Yes, Lyra said. You found this yesterday? Yes, and you kept it safe. You brought it all the way here? Yes, the journalist woman had started recording. Lyra could see the small light on her device blinking. Ambassador Taman sat down slowly. He looked at Lyra like she was something he could not quite understand. Do you know how much money is in these credit chips? He asked. Lyra nodded. Did you need it? Lyra hesitated. Then she nodded again. Why did you return it? Lyra thought about her answer. She thought about her father, about the lessons he taught her, about the person she wanted to be. Because it is yours, she said. Not mine. The room was very quiet. Ambassador Taman continued to stare at her. The journalist kept recording. Una had tears in her eyes. Finally, the ambassador spoke. What is your name? Lyra. Lyra, where are your parents? They are dead. Our ship was attacked 6 months ago. Where do you live? Lyra looked down. In the lower levels. In an old storage bay. You are alone? Yes. Ambassador Taman stood up. He walked around his desk and knelt down so he was at Lyra's eye level. Lyra, he said gently. You just did something extraordinary. Do you understand that? Lyra was not sure what to say. She had just returned something that was lost. That was not extraordinary. That was just right. But the way the ambassador was looking at her made her think that maybe, to humans, it was something more. The lower levels of New Terra Station smelled like old metal and broken dreams. Lyra pressed herself against the cold wall as a group of security officers marched past. Their heavy boots echoed through the narrow corridor. She held her breath until they disappeared around the corner. When the coast was clear, she stepped out of the shadows. Her blue skin caught the dim light from the overhead panels. The bioluminescent markings on her arms flickered weakly. She was hungry again. She was always hungry these days. The market district was 3 levels up. Lyra knew the route by heart now. She had walked it every day for the past 6 months. 6 months since everything changed. 6 months since the pirates attacked her family's ship. 6 months since she became alone. She climbed the maintenance ladder carefully. Her hands were small and thin. Too thin. She used to have more strength. Back when her mother cooked meals every evening. Back when her father told stories before sleep. Back when she had a home. The market was crowded as usual. Dozens of alien species moved through the stalls. There were tall Hrovians with their insect-like features. There were the rock-skinned granites who sold minerals. There were even a few humans, though they were rare in this part of the station. Lyra stayed close to the walls. She had learned to move like a ghost. If she was too visible, the vendors would chase her away. If she was too obvious, security would grab her and throw her in a holding cell for a few days. She had been there before. It was not pleasant. Near the food stall, she found what she was looking for. A crate of fruit that had fallen behind a vendor's table. The vendor was busy with customers. Lyra moved quickly. She grabbed 2 pieces of fruit and stuffed them into her ragged jacket. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Hey, you!" Lyra ran. She did not look back. Her feet knew where to go. Through the side alley, past the water recycling plant, down the broken escalator. The vendor did not follow. They never followed far. 2 pieces of fruit were not worth the effort. She found her usual spot in the old storage bay. It was quiet here. Most people forgot this section existed. She sat on a pile of old cargo nets and ate one of the fruits slowly. She needed to make the food last. As she ate, Lyra thought about her situation. She had tried everything. The Velkari embassy would not help her. They said she needed proper identification. But her identification was destroyed with the ship. They said she needed family verification. But her family was dead. They said there was nothing they could do. The door had closed in her face. She had tried to find work. But who would hire a homeless alien child? Most species saw her as a problem. A beggar, a thief, something to be avoided. Lyra had heard stories about humans, though. Other aliens in the lower levels whispered about them. They said humans were strange, soft. They cared about things that other species thought were foolish. They helped people who could not help them back. They had something called compassion that made them weak. Lyra was not sure if the stories were true. She had seen humans from a distance. They looked fragile compared to many species, but they had built impressive things. Their technology was good. Their ships were fast. Their diplomats seemed to command respect in the Galactic Council. The next morning, Lyra returned to the market. She needed water. The public fountains in the lower levels often broke down. But the market had clean water dispensers. That's when she saw him. He sat at a small cafe near the central plaza. A human man, perhaps in his middle years. He wore neat clothes that marked him as someone important. His dark hair was streaked with gray. His face looked kind but tired. Lyra watched him from behind a support column. He was talking to a younger human woman who seemed to be his assistant. They spoke in their language, which Lyra could not understand. But she could read body language. The man seemed stressed but patient. When the server brought his drink, he thanked them with a smile. When another customer accidentally bumped his table, he waved off their apology with a gentle gesture. Lyra remembered her father. He had been kind like that, always patient, always treating others with respect no matter their species or status. The human man finished his meeting and stood up. His assistant handed him a data pad. He was reading something on it as he walked away from the cafe. He looked distracted, worried about something important. Lyra followed at a distance. She was not sure why. Maybe she was curious about humans. Maybe she was just bored. Maybe she wanted to see if the stories were true. The man walked through the market quickly. He was still reading his datapad. Other aliens moved out of his way. They recognized the diplomatic insignia on his jacket. He was someone important, an ambassador perhaps. Then it happened. As the man turned a corner, something fell from his jacket pocket. It hit the ground with a soft thump. The man did not notice. He kept walking, his eyes on his datapad. Lyra stared at the object on the ground. It was a wallet. She moved closer, her heart racing. The wallet had fallen open slightly. Inside, she could see the edge of credit chips. The kind that held money. Lots of money. Around her, the crowd kept moving. Most people had not seen it fall. But then Lyra noticed someone else had spotted it. Drix, the Hrovian merchant who ran a stall near her usual hiding spot. His insect eyes were fixed on the wallet. His mandibles clicked together in a way that meant he was pleased. He started moving toward it. Lyra knew Drix. Everyone in the lower levels knew Drix. He was cruel. He cheated customers. He charged Lyra rent just to sleep near his stall. He would take the wallet and use the money for himself. He would never return it. The human ambassador was getting farther away. He had no idea he had lost something important. Lyra looked at the wallet. She looked at Drix. She looked at the ambassador's back as he disappeared into the crowd. She made her decision. Lyra lunged forward and grabbed the wallet before Drix could reach it. Her fingers closed around the leather. It felt expensive, heavy. "Give that here, girl." Drix's voice was sharp and angry. He reached for her with his long arms. Lyra twisted away and ran. Behind her, she heard Drix shouting. But she was smaller and faster. She knew every corner, every hiding spot, every shortcut in this section of the station. She ran until her lungs burned. She ran until she was sure no one was following. Then she ducked into her storage bay and collapsed on the cargo nets. Her hands shook as she opened the wallet fully. Inside were credit chips worth thousands. More money than she had ever seen. There were identification cards with the human's face and name. Ambassador Taman Kang, they read. Earth Diplomatic Corps. There were also photos. A woman with a warm smile. 2 small children laughing. A family. Lyra stared at the photos for a long time. This man had a family. People who loved him. People who depended on him, and she held his wallet in her hands. The credit chips could change everything. She could buy food, real food. She could pay for new identification papers on the black market. She could maybe even buy passage home to Velkar Prime. All she had to do was keep it. No one would know. The ambassador probably thought he lost it somewhere impossible to find. He would cancel his credit chips and get new ones. He was rich, important. He would be fine, but Lyra would have what she needed. She looked at the photos again, at the children's faces. She wondered if they knew how lucky they were to have a father who came home every night. Lyra closed the wallet and held it against her chest. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but sleep would not come. In her mind, she heard her father's voice. One of his lessons from long ago. Lyra, he had said, when you are lost and do not know what to do, ask yourself one question. What kind of person do you want to be? Lyra lay in the darkness and thought about that question for a very long time.